All right, this is the Zone Diet. I chose this diet because in high school, my football coach actually told us to use this diet, and I never really realized it was the Zone Diet until actually looking into it a little more. So here it goes. So, the Zone Diet was developed by Dr. Barry Sears. He was aiming to reduce inflammation in the body that was induced by poor diet. The zone refers to three markers that will tell you if you're in the zone or not, and you can see them down on the bottom right in the chart. A little complicated, so that's like one thing that kind of makes this diet um, a little hard to follow, in my opinion. So the zone diet aims at reaching these markers by having a diet that consists of 30% protein, 40% carbohydrates, and 30% fat. And it was designed to balance the eicosanoid hormones in our body. So the pros of the zone diet: it encourages minimization of saturated fats and stresses the intake of monounsaturated fats, which we've learned monounsaturated fats are much better than saturated fats, and your body actually needs those. It encourages lean protein consumption, so again, like reducing saturated fats. It encourages fruits and vegetables with high fiber over processed carbs like white bread and pasta, which eating less processed carbohydrates is aiming at reducing the glucose in the blood, which we'll talk more about later. It creates a good structure to prevent overeating. So this diet is based on like 5 smaller meals a day, all really like portioned out. Portioned out with 30% protein, 40% carbs, and 30% fat, and then over like a longer span. So it kind of prevents overeating because people on this diet usually like portion out their food like beforehand. So the cons of the zone diet: for some reason, it aims at limiting consumption of omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential. So that means like instead of eating like walnuts and stuff like that, like it seems like it's just kind of a weird thing to like focus on. It encourages 50% more protein than the recommended daily allowance. So you're eating 150% of the normal protein that you need for your body, which if you're not like an athlete or like a bodybuilder or something, you really don't need to be eating that much protein. Most of the benefits of the diet are pretty much anecdotal. So that means they're not really backed by a lot of solid like testing or scientific research. They're kind of more like, oh yeah, like I did this diet and I feel great, so it's not really like rooted completely in science, even though this guy is a doctor and like his background was he was trying to make a diet with like a lower glycemic index, but it doesn't really like give good substance as to why that like really helps. And another part of that is weight loss is not necessarily contributed to like the ratio of food we eat, but more so like how much actual calories are consumed. So energy in versus energy out. Because it's like if you consume 2,000 calories a day, but you burn 2,500 calories, you're going to be losing weight. So that's really what weight loss is. It's not really about, you know, what exactly you eat, which of course that's important, but that's not really like how weight is technically lost. So my recommendations after looking over this diet, I think it has its benefits. Like the part where it focuses more on vegetables than high glycemic carbohydrate consumption. But I think it's like all that's kind of more trumped by the anecdotal evidence and it's kind of like a narrow approach to solving like chronic diseases and diabetes, because this diet is really intended for like just overall better health and like avoiding diseases, which it doesn't really make sense like just like eating a specific ratio of food is like gonna solve that. um there are some good parts about it, like it also encourages unsaturated fats over saturated fats, which is pretty good. And then, like I said earlier, increased protein intake can be beneficial for athletes, but it's not necessarily beneficial for the average person. And my overall thought was just this diet's by no means the diet to end all diets. It kind of lacks focus on consumption of a wide range of foods and micronutrients, and it really just focuses in on protein, carbohydrates, and fat, which I think if you're looking at like from a very basic standpoint, looking at a diet, it is like good to know like what ratio of protein, carbohydrates, and fat you should have. And like maybe this diet would work if like you were a very active person or trying to build muscle or an athlete. But I think for just like a regular person, it's kind of more of like another fad diet thing. And another possible benefit could be that like it just really like encourages people to be more mindful of what they eat. But like as for like the whole hormone thing and like limiting that, like that's kind of just anecdotal evidence. And here's my resources.